Hey, everybody, welcome to the second episode of Cuberviews. It's your host, Ian Braverman. We're really excited to have you back. And today I'm joined by a really exciting guest, Justin, my good friend Jarisos. How are you doing today?
Hey, I'm doing well. This is my first ever podcast, and it's fun to do it with you. How are you doing today, Ian?
Oh, I'm doing great. It's a beautiful Saturday here, nice October weather, and I'm really excited to get into talking about your cube. So, Justin, tell me a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, so what do you want to know? Do you want to know about me or you want to know about my queue?
Oh, I want to, the people want to know who you are.
Me. So I've been cube curating now. I'm the cube curator of the Altered Cube. And if you haven't seen that before, it's made from about like 45 different artists that I have commissioned all over the world. And I kind of just contact them and I let them paint on whatever they like. No subject matter is off limits. It's really I trust them with everything, which is a lot of fun. So I've been curating this cube for about 6 years. And I used to really be an avid player. I used to play a lot, but I'm currently in doctorate school, so I don't have a whole lot of time to play cube anymore. But when I do, it's always a time to be cherished, and I have a lot of fun playing with you in our local play group, every month or so.
Yeah, just shout outs, like you just said, to our local play group. If anyone's in the area in Connecticut, we cube every week at Games IRL in Avon, Connecticut. So definitely looking to expand the cube group in that area. And I mean, your cube is a pleasure to play. I mean, every time I play it, it's so amazing. So tell us, how did you get started with cube?
So I got started with cube. I used to play Legacy all the way back then. And then I jumped into CEDH. And then I got to the point where I kind of just got a little bored with it, a little stagnant with it. And I had all of these awesome cards. And I said, I could probably just make a cube about this. I could just put them all together and I can have a cube and then I can pull it apart and play 80 EDH with it every now and then. And then I decided that it was the most enjoyable way for me to ever play Magic. And that's because you were able to play all of these obscure cards and give them a place to shine. And when you have this play group of people that is enthusiastic about what you're creating and what you're bringing to the table, I definitely feed off of that energy. And so ever since then, I've pretty much exclusively played Cube as the only format that I enjoy.
I actually have a pretty similar story to that. I was in college and I already had my peasant cube together, but I had like 10 commander decks and I was like, "Oh, I'm kind of bored of these commander decks. What should I do?" And I said, well, I wonder if I could build like a legacy cube out of these. And so I scrapped all the commander decks, put them into a box, and it was like almost the legacy cube for Magic Online, actually. But it was missing all the mono red cards and aggro pieces because nobody plays aggro in Commander. So that was like the few thing I had to buy. So that's awesome. I mean, it sounded like you had quite the transition. I feel like Cube is kind of like the final landing place of a lot of Magic players of their transition from many different formats.
The thing about it is I love problem solving and I love puzzles. And Cube to me at the time is like I was looking at 360 and 540 lists, and I'm like, I don't recognize 80% of these cards. I don't know how they play. Like, what is even a good pick right now? Like, so that really intrigued me to build it on my own and really start to decipher that. I'm voracious for like eating all of the content that I could find about Cube and learning about it. I just love the process.
Yeah, and I know that you're like super busy these days, but your cube has been featured at so many cool events. For example, it was at Boston Cube Party, Cubapalooza. What is it like to have a cube that's kind of gaining more fame in the community? And has that affected like your mentality with cube?
So the cool thing about bringing it to events, like it was definitely like I created the cube at first for my local play group of myself and two others, and we would just draft that. And then I decided like I wanted to build something that showcased a really niche part about Magic, specifically like altered cards, because you don't see that a whole lot. Um, and the cool thing about like the altered cards is that I wanted to make them easier to draft. So I chose to not, you know, paint over the rules text or the names. I wanted them to be recognizable. But we'll get into that too because this is like a really bad cube to play in a top eight event. And usually when I was at Cubapalooza, when I was at Boston Cube Party, my cube was for the top eight. And you get mixed feelings for that because when you're drafting all weekend long, and suddenly you need to draft, a cube to win it all, and it's my cube, and you don't recognize 90% of the cards because they have different art. That's a lot of overload. So some people love it, some people hate it. I think it's really awesome because I get, some of the most skilled players to play my cube and to give you good feedback. I've made some really questionable choices with how I presented the cube in top eights. Like I've definitely seeded packs a certain way. I've played with pack structure. I've done some things to more of as an experiment with really skilled players, and I've learned a lot from that. And it all comes back to like keeping things simple. And I've definitely complicated things on purpose, more of a social experiment. But some people love it, some people dislike it. But I always enjoy people playing with what I'm bringing to the table. That's why I created the cube.
Yeah, I mean, I totally get that. Sometimes you've drafted your cube a few times and you're like, oh, what if I threw in this crazy thing to maybe catch my players off guard or maybe add something unusual to the format? And your cube definitely has some really interesting additions to it. For example, you break singleton for some cards, you have snow basics for additional uh, things like Field of the Dead. You have like Moloku, the misprint version. Tell me a little bit about like how you've constructed this cube. I mean, Vintage Cube, I feel like so many people are used to seeing in the Magic Online version. How did you come up with creating this different version?
So I started with a popper cube, and then I decided to foil the popper cube. And then I got a little bored of that with my play group, and we jumped to peasant. And then we're like, you know what? I'm spending all this money anyway. This is coming from like a really privileged place, but at the time I was making a fair amount of money so I could do all this. I'm like, you know what? Why don't I just like buy a vintage cube? Let me let me just like work towards something. And I feel like a lot of people had built their first vintage cube off of like White Wolf 123 on MTG Salvation. That's definitely where I got the inspiration to build my list. And I think that's a really good place to start out is to find a content creator that you enjoy, that you respect, that you know their list is curated. So, there's not some like mystical, like, is this gonna work? Especially when you're like purchasing everything and you're not proxying things. Because at that time I was like, you know what, let me just buy everything. And as time went on, I was influenced by so many other cube curators like Derek Gallen, Matt Grenier, Zachary Barash, like all of these, Ryan Sachs, all these great people that I had the privilege to speak to. And they definitely changed the way I viewed Magic, um, especially with like archetypical confinements and, what certain things can do and colors can do in Cube. And so then I started to like pull five different lists and find comparisons between them and mix and match what I thought would work for my play group. And now I'm at the point where I'm confident in what I'm building and I can evaluate cards on my own and I can choose things that I think would fit perfect for my environment. So it took a lot of growth to get to that point. I didn't start out being like, oh, I really feel like I know what I'm doing. And even now I'm like, this might be a little questionable. But the great thing is a lot of people enjoy playing my cube. I have some great play groups and I can get some really valuable feedback.
Yeah, I mean, that's awesome. I totally get there's when you want to build a cube from scratch compared to building it from something that's already more established. I've definitely had that conversation with people in my playgroup because when you build something from scratch, it's a lot more like fear. Like, will people like the cube that I built? It's all on me compared to when you start from a well-established cube that already exists and people already really like, then it's a lot less of like the personal anxiety that can come out. So I totally understand that. Uh, and this cube is amazing for its altars. So how did you get started with altering? What was the inspiration with getting so many of these artist altars?
So I didn't even know alters existed until one Reddit thread where it was like one of those like trade with me Reddit threads. And I just put up some cards that I didn't need at the time. I was trying to acquire more things for the cube. And there was a person that reached out to me and they're like, "Hey, so this is what I do. I paint on cards. I do border extensions." And I thought that was the coolest thing. I didn't even realize like I was like, "Is this even legal?" You know what? It doesn't matter because you're keeping everything intact and it's only going to be for my play group. So I actually traded them cards for a commissioned Baleful Strix. It was the most beautiful card I owned. This was not original art. It was just perfectly color matched, border extended. And this was before Magic even did the border extensions or the full arts. So I thought it was incredible. And then I just got hooked because then I realized, wow, there are so many artists out there that paint original art on their cards. And from there on, I would just contact artists all day. So my cube right now has about 46 different artists that have painted on my cards.
Wow,
And
46. That's
yeah,
amazing.
46, it's kind of crazy. And it's only growing. I've definitely slowed down now because I don't have the budget anymore. I'm not allowed to work in my doctorate program. They forbid you from that. But I would just contact artists. I only have social media to contact artists, and I would just explain that I love their capability, and I will give you a list of cards. You can choose whatever cards you want from that list, as many as you want, and I'll let you paint whatever you want, no approval. So I'll pay you up front. You just paint what you want. And I've definitely gotten some cards that were questionable with their themes, but at the end of the day, like this process has not failed me. I love everything that I received. And it's really cool because it's like this was even before Universes Beyond. So my cube really felt like a Universes Beyond, for better or worse. But it was really unique in a way to see all of these strange arts that were chosen for cards and how everything melded together. Some dystopian like environment, and I love it.
Yeah, it's so cool how when I draft your cube, it's not like there's one unifying theme between all of the arts, like you said. Every art piece, like every, it's like its own individual piece because it's all so unique. It's like going through a museum. So it's incredible. There's some that are like pop culture references. There are some that are just like a beautiful landscape. Even all the basics in your cube are altered. So
Yeah,
it's incredible.
every basic's altered, but here's the problem with that. Because when you when you play triple fetch, right? And this was some feedback that I got in like the top 8 of Boston Q Party. You know, one of the players was like, "Wait a second. You have 3 Misty Rainforests and they're all different art?" I'm like, "Yeah, yeah." But you know what? We're at that point where that's kind of common in Magic. There's so many weird arts and universes beyond and secret layers that, what was so overwhelming before is it's kind of the norm now. And yeah, cubes don't necessarily break singleton, and mine does, and that gets a little confusing at times. But I do feel like seeing art that you've never seen before on a card you're a little desensitized to that now because that's happening every day. I'm seeing cards and I'm like, wait, where did that version come from?
Yeah. Wait, this is like a Kermit the Frog secret layer. When did this happen? Or like some
Yeah, that's
crazy things. You never know. But I totally agree with you. I think in the past it would be the one version and then the foil, and that was it. So when people saw something that wasn't the one version, they would say, "What is this? What is happening? Like, why does my Gideon look like Luke Skywalker? Like, what is going on?"
yep.
But now I like you said it's becoming much more normal. So I think that probably has helped with your cube people not feeling as overwhelmed.
I'd like to think that's actually happening, but at the end of the day, when this is like the last cube that you're playing in some of these events, and not only do you need to like, so yeah, battle states like just, you know. play states are very complicated these days with all of like the miscellaneous, like, you have the monarchy, you have the dungeon, you have the one ring, you have the ring itself, tempting in the
There's
ring, you have all these
too much
tokens,
these
the
days.
offspring. There's a lot going on. And on top of that, when I can just take a look at the board state and not understand like what the hell is that card because I don't even recognize that art, it could get very confusing. I enjoy overly complicated board states. I love puzzles. Um, but for some people, it's just too much.
I totally agree. I mean, some of the best magic is when you have some 10 card engine that nobody even realized, and all of a sudden you're going infinite and what happened? So I totally get that. And I mean, your cube has gone through not only like the altered version, but you also had like it was almost fully foiled out and like masterpieces before, right? So
Oh
it
yeah, it was fully foiled, and then I sold the foils for commissions. And even now, like I'll contact artists. I'm like, I don't really have a ton of money, but I can give you these foils for your work, and that sometimes works. So, I to me, like having a unique, like one of one piece, um, that trumps any type of foiling or you know, unique secret layer. But that's just my opinion. I love it.
I mean, I agree. It's amazing. And so one question I had for you is when you're doing the tuning process for this cube, I mean, each of these pieces of art must be like your children. It's like they're all so unique and amazing. When you have to cut one of them, when there's some new card that's so incredible, you can't just keep adding new cards. I know I wish I could do that. Uh, how do you cut cards? Is that a part of your process, like depending on the art?
Do you know how big my cube sideboard is right now? We're nearing like 200 altars that I don't use, which is insane. Like it's a 540 cube, about like 400 and something of it is altered right now, and that's only because I constantly swap cards out, and that sucks. Um, I don't have to do that. I don't have to keep up with the newest sets, but part of me is like, oh wow, this card would be so good, and I don't want to go beyond 540. So I have about 200 cards that I'm not using that are beautiful, and that's difficult because I don't like to just sell them. I'm not looking to like make a buck on like these unique pieces that I have. Luckily, I do have some other altar collectors that I have become really good friends with. So we'll trade back and forth for cards that we need. But I'm thinking about making like a unique card for my cube that lets you play from like this extra altered deck. So I'm looking at ways to like almost like a booster tutor, but it's of like the cube past and all the cards are altered. And that way I can give new life to these beautiful pieces that I no longer play with.
Yeah, I mean, I've had the chance to be lucky to trade a couple of them off of you, a couple of the pieces, like the show and tell. I have that in my Bant Cube, and I get so many compliments on it. They're like, "Whoa, what is this? It's
It's like
amazing!"
bacon, egg, and cheese.
Yeah. And I just have that one altar, and it adds a whole conversation every time the cube is drafted. So I'm sure it creates like this amazing vibe for players. It definitely does for me. It's almost like entering and playing in a museum of art. So it's so cool.
Have you ever
And
played Aqua One's Cube?
I was about to ask about that. Has he been
Yeah.
an inspiration for you?
Yeah, what's really cool about meeting Aqua is like at the time I was already building this and I didn't even know who they were. And when I met them at KubeCon and I saw their masterpiece, I'm like, wow, I have something that is similar to this but parallel. Because what's really unique about Aqua's cube is the original artists of the cards are altering the cards. What's unique about my cube is all of these alter artists that aren't the original artists are altering these cards, and they're both beautiful and it's incredible. But meeting them and talking alters and having the chance to play like unique cards like that was really inspirational.
Yeah, I mean their cube is incredible. I haven't had the chance to play it, but when I went to KubeCon and they were doing side events for it, I was the whole time saying, "Oh, I hope I get a time in between drafts." But it's such a hectic schedule at KubeCon. You can't get it. You barely have 2 seconds to get a burrito from the food trucks.
Yeah, like last year, like I even had Aqua play my cube. I brought the altered cube. So the two of us were just in the free play area, just hosting all the time. I didn't even play in the main tournament. I did the previous year, but for this one, I just said, just come play my cube now. I want to bring this to KubeCon.
Yeah. And so what would you say to like listeners who might be interested in starting to alter their own cards or getting their cards altered for their cube, what would be some advice or tips that you would give to people to get started with this?
It's really expensive. You know,
Yeah.
I feel like when I started 5, 6 years ago acquiring these cards, you can, maybe a border extension. I've swapped all those out now. Now they're all just unique altered cards. They're no longer extensions, but you're looking at like a minimum of $50 for even like common cards. Like I have an Arcbound Javelier that cost me 50 or $60. Like the minimum price per card now is $60, up to $400 on specific
Wow.
alters, which is, it's just insane. So do I recommend like getting into altered cards or altering your cube? Not necessarily. I mean, if there's a card that you really love, the best way to do it is just to contact these artists, and you either have a concrete plan of what subject matter you would want on the card, or you just give them free reign. But to alter your cube like this, I almost feel like the time is past unless you're extremely privileged and you have enough money to do this and have enough time to do this. Um, I don't think it's as hard as people think it is to just contact and get cards, but you know, you have to know people, you have to know who to reach out to, you have to do your research, you have to keep looking, you have to be persistent, and you have to understand that like this isn't their full-time job. So, they're doing other things and they might not like specific subject matter you give them, and they might not have the time to alter. You might have to wait a year for some of this. So, I've definitely waited over a year for some of the cards that I've commissioned. And when you're really flexible about it, like I was, you get a lot more bites, and you can really have an excellent collaboration between yourself and the artist.
Because I know that you've spoken about how some artists are harder to even get an altar from them. They rarely do altars. So I feel like over time, as you do more altars, you must be building connections and building a
Hmm.
community and getting your name out there as, hey, go to Justin. He will get you he will buy your altars.
Yeah, no, no. A lot of the artists are my friends now because I keep coming to them. It's not a transaction to me. I want I want it to be more of a friendship, and if they're equally reciprocal to that, because it's amazing to bring their work to an event and really like show their skill off too, because the whole point of the cube was like I want to put these altars in the hands of so many players to get the artist name out and the appreciation of what you can do on a Magic card.
Yeah, I mean, that's an amazing goal to really show the art of these amazing artists that maybe don't get as much appreciation as they should. And so next, tell me about some of your favorite altars that you have in the cube and why are they your favorite?
I have too many. I have like a story for like basically like every card,
I bet.
because I remember like the whole process of commissioning it and like searching for it or trading for it. I don't know if there's a specific altar that I'm like, this is my favorite of all time, but there were definitely cards that I've been searching for. Like maybe I've seen them online and I was like, wow, I need to like get an altar that's kind of like that, or maybe I can hunt for that altar. I can find the owner of that altar, and I've been able to do that sometimes, which is really incredible. Like my Gaia's Cradle, I saw that Rocky had altered a Gaia's Cradle years ago, and for some reason the previous owner was selling it, and I jumped right on that. I didn't care the price. I'm like, I need to own that because that's something I've always wanted. Um, I don't necessarily think there's like one that sticks out to me. The only thing that's like really not altered is my Power Nine, and that's a
Yeah.
whole nother conversation. Um, because I feel like a lot of people are like, "Oh, why would you like ruin this piece of history? Why would you ruin the value of these cards? There's only so many sets left of like collector's edition Power Nine and such." But to me, I'm never going to sell them. These are cards that I cherish. It's only for me and my play group, and obviously for all the conventions that everyone wants to experience. So I don't really care too much about what something's worth because it's not worth anything unless you try to sell it. So I made the decision last week. I just said, you know what? I'm going to get these commissioned. I'm going to do something, but I'm going to do it in a way that would like play homage to the original art. I don't want to fully cover it, but I want to do something that integrates it too.
Yeah, like giving it additional extensions, which is it's really awesome. I mean, I think that having the whole cube altered would be great, but I totally understand the original Power 9 not wanting to change them.
You know, if I stopped 2 years ago, the whole cube would have been altered.
But it keeps adding new
I could
cards.
stop right now and I can catch up in a few months and that would be it. But, you know, if you keep showing me awesome cards, I'm gonna want to try to play with them.
So what are some of your most favorable, like memorable moments that you've had in this cube and like the gameplay?
Hmm. You know, for me, I think and I put this in my overview too. Like I feel like when you play so much Vintage Cube, you get into these habits of like looking at the pack, finding your power outlier, slamming it, not even caring about like, what am I going to wheel right now? Because it's like I got, a piece of power or I got, something that I just know is going to be incredible in my deck, whatever. Like everything else is trash, right? And not everyone's like that. I got like that before I decided to alter cards, but now because there's so many unique arts, like, and you don't necessarily recognize them, you're forced to take the time to look at what each card is now, and you're almost forced to admire, the beauty of all of these alternative arts. So for me, the best thing is just like when a player opens a pack, they're like, "What is this?" And
Yeah.
they're like overwhelmed. It's sensory, like you just get flooded with like too much, and then you have to like really take your time to actually look at every single card. And that to me, like that's everything. Because either you're gonna love the process, you have the biggest smile on your face, you're like, this is so cool, or like wait until you see what I'm passing you. Like it might not be like the best card, it might be like an arcbound like prototype, and you're just like, why is this in here? But you look at it and you're like, wow, that's cool. So that's always my favorite thing.
Do you take Black Lotus or do you take the amazing
Well,
piece of art?
see
Ah, that's
the problem with Black Lotus right now is you can't mistake it for anything. But hopefully we can get to a point where you're like, wait, is that a Black Lotus? Wow, that's a Black Lotus.
I've definitely had that experience in your cube. Like I totally remember one draft that I had. I think it's so cool when people break singleton. I've started to experiment with that in like my lands. But when we did your cube and I went Bant Blink, of course, I always go Bant Blink, and I had double collected company, that added so much depth to my draft. So how do you like choose what cards you want to put as duplicates?
So that's a little tough because at first I'm like, maybe I will just choose. So the first person who inspired me to break Singleton was Derek Allen, and I played his 4 packs of Magic at 2 years ago at CubeCon,
I did
and
too.
I thought it was incredible. Like, he had like double Wild and the Cattle. He had I think he had double Urza Saga. He had double Art like Phoenix. I was like, whoa, I'm just gonna copy this, right? Because I had so much admiration for it, and I didn't really understand like the nuance of like why you chose to do like certain singleton breaks. But then the more I played, I'm like, you know what? Why do we break singleton on anything? And it's because there's not enough cards in that specific like niche, maybe you can call it an archetype, right? Or archetype to really like make these cards get off the ground. So for me, like I break singleton on collected company, right? So if I'm building a collected company deck, I think it's really cool. Like if you get that card, you're like, okay, well, how many creatures do I actually need? There's like that whole like calculator to figure out how many hits you get with collected company. But to build your deck off of like one collected company is one thing, but when you can make it like a recurring thing where you're like, oh, I have 2 collected companies, and like maybe I can play like Mystic Sanctuary to get a third collected company, then I can really go in on this. Like, same thing with modular. So with Arcbound Ravager. That is like the coolest card for modular, but modular's not super well supported, except with like this new Dustborn card that came out, which is really cool. But so I'm like, you know what? Let me just double up on Ravagers. Let me, because they also feed off each other. Arc like Phoenix is a whole nother one, right? Because I understood why Derek did that. They work well together. So you start to find and pick cards that either support something unique for you, or you just think like I tried to get away from just good power outliers like Urza Saga. I had that as a doubled card, and then I realized Urza Saga is just broken. It's
It's
just
just
a
an insane card.
really good card, and you don't necessarily need two of those. You know, what's the point? Like the deck that runs one, yeah, of course you'll want a second one, but anyone would want one, you know?
Yeah, I feel like singleton, they can be used, I mean, breaking singleton can be used for multiple functions. Like if there's a unsupported deck, like you said, that if it had like a second would just bring it over the top. Like I feel like a collected company deck, I played Soul Herder in Modern, and that was by far the best card in the
Hmm.
deck because it just gave the deck this new level of attack that it could do by being able to play at instant speed. And also things like upheaval, like that could be another interesting because decks that when you build the entire deck around one card, giving it the duplication is really important.
Yeah, like Vengevine. Vengevine is such an amazing card. Like,
Oh,
but
Vengevine, yeah.
if you look at like Vintage Cube, everyone's like, "Oh, why is this in the cube? This is so bad. Is this a Vengevine deck?" And then you're like, "No, it's not." But like in my cube, it's doubled, and like we're trying to support it. I'm really big on self mill, and I'm really big. Like I Survival of the Fittest is just in because it's a decent card on its own. It's not great, but it gets so much better with double Vengevine. So.
What are some of your favorite like archetypes? Because I know Vintage Cube, sometimes it gets the stereotype of, oh, there aren't a lot of archetypes. It's more just like the best cards and Magic. And but it's really cool
Yeah.
when you can like give it more direction.
So I've tried to like decrease the amount of ridiculous cards in the cube. Like I used to have Bombardiers, I used to have Gut, I used to have like Hex Drinker, um
Oh, Hex Drinker, I hate that card.
Bowmasters, you know, like all these great cards, right? I love playing with them. Um but I felt like it got to the point where it's like it was more fun for me beating my opponent and my opponent just looked miserable. And I
Yeah.
realized like, you know what? There's just so much advantage just having some of these cards that it just like produced bad gameplay in the cube that I was trying to curate. So I tried to stay away from that. But what's really cool about like doubling some of these cards, like in white, I have two Triumph of St. Catherine, which is like that's a pretty good card on its own. It's not like heavily played, but I'm really trying to support miracles in my
Yeah.
cube. And you can because, you know, even with the newest cards that just came out to support miracles too. That's really amazing. But miracles self-mill, I have like double Hedron crab. So, you know, yeah, you can mill your opponent out, but you could also mill yourself effectively well too. Um, I capped some of the reanimation in my cube. So I have double entomb. I went up on cards that fed the yard in a sense. So like Entomb is so premium, right? And is it premium because it gets your best thing into the yard so you have like this you just have tons of reanimation effects and then you're reanimating like something ridiculous like Archon of Cruelty or Atraxa. But in my cube, it's like the best thing you can get for a while was maybe Chaos Defiler. Now it's Grizzlebrand. We put that back in because that's also cool with Storm too. But I wouldn't even say that's maybe like a C type target at this point. It's like the third or fourth best. I think the new card that just came out, the Valroth in Dustmourn, it might even be better than Grizzlebrand. But
Oh, Valgavoth? Yeah. That
yeah,
card's
yeah.
awesome.
So like, you know, because I capped off like Tinker, because I capped off Reanimation, I'm able to like express those archetypes a little differently.
Yeah, I know that when we've spoken before, you're trying to lower the amount of like cheaty or super unfair decks. And why have you made that decision?
I used to always play the cheaty unfair decks. I think they are so enjoy like I love like Flash, I love Oath of Druids, I love Sneak Attack, Through the Breach. Um, but you know, when I get together with my friends and I play Cube, I'm really trying to have longer gameplay, grindier gameplay, more memorable experience. Not that like, losing in a turn or two, isn't memorable, but it's more enjoyable when you have that back and forth in Magic, at least for me. You're actually giving the other player a chance to play Magic, not just experience your Magic.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's really cool how we've seen an explosion of not only having like one type of vintage cube, like the Magic Online vintage cube, but there's so many cool ways that you can go about it. Just because you have power in your vintage cube doesn't mean that you have to run every single broken card that can sometimes lead to bad gameplay. You can still curate it to have cool archetypes like miracles. I think that's so cool. Triumph of St. Catherine is such an insane card. I run it in my Bant cube, and that's so fun, or self-mill with things like Hogak. That's a lot of fun.
Hmm.
And it's really
Yeah,
strong. It can compete with the best decks like artifacts. That's
it can
really
in this
huge in
cube.
Vintage Cube.
Yeah, it definitely can in this cube. I don't necessarily think like power is like amazing for my cube. Like I don't think it produces good gameplay. But I think it's like so essential to the way people see vintage cube and like what you like would classify like a cube as vintage that like I keep it in because people don't really get to play with it. People don't get to experience that. So it is really incredible to be able to like draft that power and just like have that experience of playing with the cards. Do I feel like the cube would be better without Time Walk, Ancestral, the Mox, and all that? Yeah, it probably would be, but I keep it in because I enjoy it. And it's just, it's not so much of a design choice because it doesn't add to the design in a fruitful way. It's more of a like pleasure choice, a happiness choice.
I definitely have had many times when I'm playing Vintage Cube when I open up Black Lotus or something and I'm like, oh, I have to take this, but there's such a cool card for my archetype.
Yeah.
It's almost sometimes disappointing when you open up power, as stupid as that sounds.
It can be. Like that's a whole nother discussion to talk about, if you have a cube that should actually play power. I mean, I think you should probably move away from it if you're looking for like really tight synergistic gameplay. But for me and my play group, and for a lot of people out there, having these unique cards that are so synonymous with like the best of Magic, in the past 32 years, you have to include them.
Absolutely, I get that. Uh, and tell me about some of the new cards that you are really excited about from Dustmore. I know you already mentioned Valgavoth, but or Varagoth, whatever its name is. What else are you excited about?
Yeah, well, I'm not playing that card. I think it's good. But like, um, I think Reluctant Role Model. So special mention to that card for my cube because I can change the art. You
That
know?
card's art is so weird.
Yeah, that's a good word for it, right? Because it's like we don't want to say art is bad. It's completely like subjective in that way. And my alters might not necessarily, you might not like my alters at all. Some people don't. But for Reluctant Role Model, I don't personally enjoy the art as much as I do for other cards, so I'm excited to alter this card. And I support modular pretty heavy in my cube. So having this as another card to support modular is really exciting. I'm very excited for Role Model. I think it's probably the one of the best cards for this cube.
Oh, that card is an all-star for my Proliferate Cube. It's just such an amazing aristocrats, or like you said, for your cube, it can play a lot of different roles. Are there any other cards that you're excited about too?
Oh yeah, we can go through the colors. Like Aberrant Oculus.
Oh, that card's so cool. I opened up a pre-release promo and I put it right in my van cube. It's so sick.
So what's cool about this in my cube is, you have the triple fetches, you have self mill, right? You have the double hedron crabs, you have all different types, like, and then I'm also supporting double Phyrexian Dreadnought and being able to manifest dread your Dreadnought. That's a way to
Oh,
cheat it
that's
into
so
play.
cool.
And you have collected companies. You have two collected companies, so you can really cheat this card out.
Yeah, that's really awesome. Yeah, the Coco too. It has so many unique synergies. And also, once you get it in play, it fills your grave. So
Exactly.
it's just a great card. Any other like one or two other cards that really have you excited?
Yeah, Ancient Cellar Spawn in black. So that that's kind of like a cool build around card, right? Because it's good with your forces because you're not paying mana for that. It's good with like dig through time. It's actually really good with miracles, which is why I'm so excited for it, Ancient Stellar Spawn. And
Which
then
one
you
is that? I
also,
actually don't even remember. Which one is that
it's the
one?
one black black 3/3. Whenever you cast a spell, if the amount of mana spent was less than its mana value, target opponent
Oh,
loses life equal to the difference. Like
from the
that's
commander deck. Yeah.
yeah. And then also the Metamorphosis Fanatic. That one's on watch. That might be really good, but it's another awesome miracle in black now. Esper Miracles, you can really play that in this cube.
Yeah, is that the 4/4 with lifelink that reanimates?
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
That card's crazy. I've seen people talking about that for Legacy too. I'm really excited to
Uh-huh.
see where that goes. And yeah, so let's do a pack one, pick one from the cube. Let's wrap things up with the pack one, pick one.
Yeah, it has to be a pack without power.
Let's
Or
see.
honorary power.
I'll read through the pack here. We got Arcbound Ravager, which is really cool. The modular theme, like you were talking about. Requisition Raid. That card is really interesting with the spree mechanic, being able to destroy artifacts and enchantments, but also put 1/1 counters. Its interaction with synergy. Tashana's Tidebinder is really just an amazing blue tempo card
And
interaction.
Dreadnought support.
And Dreadnought support, yeah. Wasteland, just insane card. And then if you can loop it, we've all seen broken things with that. Bloodstained Mire, great fixing. Counterspell, and then we have, ooh, I'm having a couple trying. Okay, Sedgemoor Witch. It's hard to read some of the art with some of the names of the art. Sedgemoor Witch, great Spellslinger card. Scion of Draco, Fable the Mirror Breaker. Oh, that's gonna be hard to pass. Suranorm, very cool. Temple Garden. Oh, there's the guy's cradle. Burrow, Go to Jail. If people don't know that one, 1 mana, white enchantment. When it enters, exile target creature an opponent controls until it leaves, and then you Monopoly roll. You roll two six-sided die, and when you get doubles, it's sacrificed, and then Noble Hierarch. So there are some really strong cards here. What are your thoughts going into this pack?
So I don't know if no, I definitely didn't mention this on the podcast, but all of the doubles, they show up every draft. Meaning like if there's two Arcbound Ravagers, you're gonna get two Arcbound Ravagers that you're gonna see around the table every single time. I seed those on purpose, right? Because there's no point in only pulling one of those. So and then also like the land base is so good in my cube. You have double duel. You have triomes, you have triple fetch, you have all these utility lands. So Wasteland hits hard. That is almost akin to strip mine in this cube. Me personally, like the cards that really speak to me. And then also wait, like Sedgemoor Witch too. I'm playing like Chain of Smog combo in here.
Ooh,
So
that's really cool then, because it
you
is
you
when you
can
copy also.
yeah, that's an infinite little thing. Um Fable, just an all around like great versatile card. But like do you really pass the modular theme? Like, so because Requisition Raid is in that pack, and I think that's such a low pick, and it's really good in the modular deck, I would probably go with the Ravager
Oh
just
wow,
because
okay.
I know for me, like this is part of what I love about the doubles in this cube is if this is your first time drafting, that can really guide you to like pick a theme and build around it, right? So you don't necessarily have to be like, oh, is this going to be decent in this cube? You're just like, oh, that's going to be a double. I heard that was a double. I know it's well supported. I can build around this. Wow, requisition raid. Like nobody's going to pick that probably. Look at all these other cool cards. That card's not even altered. Nobody wants that. So yeah, I'm going to go with the Ravager. I'll wield the requisition raid. I'll be happy. But I wouldn't fault you for picking Wasteland or a Fetch or Fable. Even Gaia's Cradle. I don't know if you pick Gaia's Cradle first or if you want like, a specific deck for that to go into, but once again, like you can art draft. You could just be like, this is
I was
gorgeous.
about
I
to
want this.
say it's
It's a judge,
definitely
it's a
affecting my
judge.
decisions.
Yeah. It's a judge foil guy's cradle that got altered. Like, how cool is that? Go for it.
Oh, it's definitely affecting my decision here. Like, I don't know if I should take Guy's Cradle first. I mean, I wouldn't fault somebody for doing that, but oh, it's so hard to pass
What are
looking
you
at it.
choosing? What are you picking?
There's a couple cards in this pack that
It
I'm
has to be
high
banned for
on.
you. You're probably high on anything banned.
I'm actually looking at Fable. The last couple times I've drafted, I haven't mentioned on the podcast yet, but I have the Bant cube, which I built a couple years ago, color restricted cube Bant. But then as the antithesis to that cube, I built the Rakdos cube, which is all Rakdos. So because I wanted to prove to people, Rakdos doesn't add anything to Magic. See this cube doesn't need to exist. But it turns out I actually do kind of like drafting Rakdos. So Fable the Mirror Breaker, it's hard to pass that card in Wasteland. I think just to stay open, I would take Wasteland though. Like you
Yeah,
said,
you
there's
would get
so
paid off
much.
heavily.
It fits into so many decks, like mono red, mono white, green lands decks. It's also just good in many different strategies.
Yeah, I
But
mean, you
I
would,
also the fun pick, I would want to take Uro. I love drafting Uro.
yeah, Uro's extra supported with all his self mill, and you would think that like, you could basically never see monocolor drafts because the land base is so good and there's triple fetch and all of these lands. But I've definitely played monocolor lists or dual colored lists. Like you'll see some splashes here and there, but it rarely defaults to five color good stuff because it's a very synergistic cube, right? And you could play five color good stuff all day, but I find like these tighter lists in general are incredible, but you're not gonna see like typical aggro or mid-range or control. I think that's really like a thing of the past. But that's a whole nother conversation.
It's so hard for me not to go five colors sometimes. Whenever
Yeah.
at my game store, we'll do chaos drafts every week. And when I go to those five color good stuff, that's like my go-to.
Yeah, well, good luck with Wasteland because you got one more source that's not adding to your pips.
Oh no, you're right. Well, this was definitely a really cool pack, and it's been amazing having you on the show, Justin. Is there anything else you want to say to the people?
I just hope you get a chance to play my cube. That's what it comes down to. It's not for everybody, but if you enjoy seeing unique art and if you want to play a different take on a vintage cube, I would love for you to draft it. Anyone can draft it. I don't care who you are. Like, come play. I trust you. Just play with my stuff. Like, I get so much enjoyment out of that. So that's why I built it.
Absolutely. And we'll definitely be having you on again in the future. You're a great friend. We'll definitely get more ping pong in soon too, or pickleball when you're less busy.
Definitely.
And everyone, thank you for listening. And please subscribe, and we'll be having more episodes soon. And have a great day.